Hello chess friends, and welcome to Azarov Chess Channel, and welcome to the round 3 of the Grenke tournament in Germany. So today we had the clash, the world champion Magnus Carlsen against the former world champion Viswanathan Anand, and this game shows also this human side of Magnus Carlsen, because we'll see in this game he really missed the win against Viswanathan Anand, but Viswanathan Anand also made this inaccuracies which allowed Magnus Carlsen to go into the game. And okay, Magnus Carlsen is still in the lead in the tournament, but as said, he's still human, and sometimes maybe just praise Magnus Carlsen too much, because you know, he's really the best player these days, but today he really missed at least better continuation, and I think it was the problem because he played 2 long games the days before. Maybe the tournament, those who have organized the tournament should have maybe had a day rest, sort of thing. So maybe to play 2 rounds and then have a day rest. I think it's really important for when you're organizing this tournament to make a rest day, because I don't think that it has so much sense just to play these long games maybe for 6-7 hours. But okay, Magnus Carlsen drew today, and I wanted to show you this game because it has really nice positional elements of a chess game. And I have to always also say that I have predicted these games for all of the 5 games from the Grenke chess tournament, and I have to say I have guessed all right. So I have before this round I said that Magnus Carlsen and Viswanathan Anand are going to draw, and because I thought really that Magnus Carlsen is maybe a little bit tired, and today he had some better continuations, but he was controlling the game through the whole game. Viswanathan Anand, I don't think he had chances to win this game. He just defended, and here Magnus Carlsen maybe missed the win. So we have here c4 by Carlsen. Pardon me. C4 by Carlsen, and now E5 by Viswanathan Anand. G3, and now Magnus Carlsen plays this sort of reverse Sicilian that he's used to play as black against E4. We saw always that he didn't play with this D3 or E3 moves when he, from black's perspective, he doesn't play with a D6 or E6. He plays this Lascar Sicilian just to move the pawn on C5, and then here push the knights on C6 and F6. So he stays really flexible with this setup. So here Anand played knight on F6 with a fast development, and now knight on C3, and here bishop on G4. It's okay. It was played also by Fabiano Caruana against Magnus Carlsen in their rapid games of the World Championship, and okay, here Magnus Carlsen simply goes E4. If you take here immediately bishop takes, then we have d takes, knight takes, and then, well, you get the queen on G4, and you have to go back with your knight, and then you lose the G7. So that's why here D6 played by Anand, and here F3 by Carlsen. This is now a line which already from a computer side of view, it equalizes the position immediately, but from a human's perspective, I think it's white has a really flexible position here, because we have now the opened d file, and we can always make some progress here on the d file. We can always create a battery with some rooks, or maybe with the queen on the d6 pawn, and it would be hard maybe for black to crack the position with the move c6, and then maybe try pawn breakthrough with d5. This f3, although it equalizes the game immediately from a computer's point of view, but I really like it. You see now in the continuation a5, now knight on h3, here a4. which is now black's idea, because black has now black doesn't have any more the bishop pair, and we want always to be to the position to be blocked. And when we create and block it, we want to have advanced pawns. We want to restrict the ability of possible pawn moves. So that's why here a4, very nice positional move by Viswanathan Anand. He wants, of course, maybe fix the knight here on the square c5, maybe knight from b to d7, and then here fix really the knight on c5 and create really a blockade on the queen side. Then really wait with the king, maybe where to castle, and try maybe some positional trades of pieces in order to get out of this opening very easily. So here Magnus played the knight on f2. It's okay. Here also with some possibilities, maybe knight on d3, knight on b4, and then fix the knight on d5. So as said, white has really flexibility here. What you don't want to do as white is trade off maybe this light square bishops. We want to continue the game with the bishop pair because we have the advantage of the bishop pair. Bishop on e6 was played, and now bishop on d3. This is an important moment because now we have a very nice position by the bishop, although the bishop is blocked out by its own pawns, but we want to make progress because this bishop supports potential pawn moves like b4 b5, f4 f5, g4 g5. So it has sort of a double function, although it's also protecting this the c4 pawn, but it has really double function. You see, because Magnus has taken out the knight with the c pawn, well, black cannot create here an outpost on d4. Knight from b to d7 was played, and now queen on e2. Of course, we want to have also more protection of the c4 because it's kind of a weakness. It's hard here for black to attack it, but in long terms it could be really a weakness because you cannot really support it with another pawn, because Viswanathan Anand played the move a4 and made this progress here on the queen side. And here Anand makes, well, let's call a mistake, I think. He plays the move c6, and still I think he could have maybe go more positional, just maybe fix the knight on c5. He plays now the c6 move, and it creates this weakened pawn structure here on d6. It's good sometimes to create this so-called Boleslavsky wall in chess. We have this d6 c6 setup, in which you're restricting many squares in the center, but you don't want to have this weakness. At least you don't want to have this weakness when you don't have the dark square bishop. Sometimes we can maybe protect this d6 with bishop on e7, of course, or bishop on f8. Here we don't have any more the dark square bishop, and here I think white is simply better, because this will be really a problem for Viswanathan Anand in the continuation of the game. And here Magnus, of course, immediately sees this weakness and plays the move f4. He wants to really now open the position, because if we crack the position here around e5 and d6, here if the bishop comes here on f4, this could be deadly. With queenside castle here, I think black would be completely lost. So that's why here knight on b6, and here bishop on e3. Now we have c5. Now Anand plays simply again more on the blockade. He created the blockade on another way. But here I think again this d6 weakness is still a problem, because there's no way, as I said, for black to maybe create an outpost here on d4, or challenging maybe somehow the d5 square. Black's pieces are a little bit paralyzed here, and here Magnus simply goes queenside castle, queen on e7, and this leaves also black now sort of an flexibility in the game. Now black can choose where he's going to castle. He can also castle kingside, queenside, and he waits this move, which Magnus Carlsen played. He waits to move f5, so very creative play now, very creative defensive play by Anand. He challenges now the bishop. Magnus challenges the bishop. Of course, bishop on d7 was played, but now with the move f5, Magnus has really showed now the direction of the attack. Of course, he's now searching for some kingside attack. So that's why here, of course, Viswanathan Anand is not going to castle into the attack. Of course, he's gonna castle queenside here. So g4 played by Carlsen, and now h6, creating a blockade of this potential g5 move, so it has to be more supported with the move h4. And now Anand simply goes out of the attack. I don't want to castle, of course, into the attack, so that's a very, very nice idea. And here white is better here, but here Magnus, of course, continues with the move g5. And okay, knight on e8 was played, and now Magnus gives again opportunities to Anand to go into the game, because he played the move bishop on d2. And okay, you still have the advantage, you still have connected rooks. You see Anand has also problems now with the knight on e8 move. He doesn't have any more this rook connection. But here I think instead of bishop on d2, knight on g4 would be a very nice idea, because it leaves us now very, very nice flexibility. We're really challenging now black's pawn structure, and we have now directed all of our pieces on the attack, on the king side, where we have, of course, the advantage. And here, if you try something like h5, then you get f6. If you take the knight, then you get, of course, f takes e7. If you take the queen first, of course, the rook, and you see you have here immediate tactics. If you try here g takes f6, well, then you get knight on h6. This is very, very tricky. If you take, then here we can simply take h takes g5, and here you see this h5 would be hanging, and still we would have a really flexibility in the continuation of the attack on the king side. Rook on f1 would be idea, rook on g1, and similar ideas. In the next move, of course, we can take the pawn. We can simply challenging this weakness. So I think here Magnus would have really nice flexibility in the attack. But okay, bishop on d2, but it allows now Anand to regroup a little bit, and he plays simply h takes g5, h takes g5, and now knight on c7, connecting finally the rook. So you see Magnus left this tempo, and now still white is better here, but I think this continuation with knight on g4 was better. Now Magnus plays knight on g4, but we have the rook connection, and what Anand wants to do here is, of course, get somehow out of the way of the attack of the pawns. And whenever Magnus plays maybe something like f6, then of course we create the blockade with g6. If you try something like g6, then we create the blockade with f6. So this is this position with the 2-on-2 pawns, where you're just waiting your opponent to push the pawn and then really to block out the position. So that's Anand's here idea, to create a blockade to really stop white's attack on the king side. So here that's why rook on g8, and here we want to regroup our forces, bringing the queen also on the a8 rank, really challenging now this h file, because as said, and then simply wait Carlsen to make his move here with the pawns. Rook on h2 was played, of course, doubling up the rooks, and here you see now queen on f8, very nice positional play here by very nice defensive positional play by Anand. Rook on h1, and now king on b8, improving the position of the king. And here Magnus goes b4. We have, of course, a takes b4, a takes b3 with the en passant, and here a takes b3. And okay, here Magnus has a really nice position now, maybe on the king side, because when we play with the bishop pair, we want the position, of course, to be opened, and when we don't have the bishop pair, we want to have sort of a static position, sort of a blocked out position, in which we saw Magnus Carlsen in the first round. He played against Windsor Kramer and the young talented German player, and he managed to win because he managed to create sort of a static position with and then he created some attacks with his knights, because the bishop were a little bit paralyzed here. White has still flexibility to open somehow the position with b4. Of course, it has to be more prepared, but here I think it's perfectly fine. So knight on c8 was played, and here king on b2, also very nice move, improving just the position of the king, and queen on d8. Rook on h7, we have rook takes on h7, and here rook takes on h7, and here rook on h8 was played, and here Magnus again now allows Anand to go back in the game. Here he played queen on h2, and of course Anand is going to take now, because now he wants to really release the pressure here on the h file. So that's why here after maybe rook on h8, g6 would be an interesting idea, because as said, we want to create at least one pass pawn here. We want to create some open files, some open diagonals for the bishops. If you want to gain some advantage here. If you try maybe something like f takes g6 immediately, then you get rook takes on g7. After g takes f5, now you see we have e takes f5, and now we have created this pass pawn situation, which we like. Now with this support of the two bishops, with the support of the knight, with the support of the queen and the rook, this pass pawn could be really a problem here for Viswanathan Anand. So here queen on h2 was played, and here of course Anand takes, Magnus takes, and queen on f8. And these queens are a little bit now challenging each other. Whenever this queen moves, maybe this queen can go into the game. So they have sort of a dependency here. So that's why here Magnus cannot go here and immediately try some pawn moves just in order to make some progress. Now the flexibility is only left here on the queen side with potential moves as b4. Still, as said, if you try something always like if you try something like g6, then you get f6, and then again we have sort of block it. If you try f6, then you get g6, again the block it. So let's see now the continuation. Knight on e3 was played by Carlsen. Here knight on e5 would be sort of an outpost, but after knight takes on e5, well, then maybe c takes or e takes d5 creates again sort of a static pawn structure in the center. We want to create at least some open files, open diagonals. We want to create at least one pass pawn. That's the goal, and that's not what Viswanathan Anand allows here in the game. Knight on e7, here king on c2 was played. Now Magnus finds a very nice idea. He wants to get his king on the king side here somehow, just in order to be able to push the pawns, because if the queen comes here on this side, and then of course you don't want to have the king where you're trying to attack. Still Magnus has the flexibility, still Magnus has an advantage here, but it has to be prepared. You cannot just simply rush into attacks. Queen on g8 was played, and okay, Magnus is not of course trading off some queens because he has the better activity here. He has also the advantage of space because he has now 2 pawns on the 5th rank. Here queen on h4 was played, and queen on f8. King on d1, knight on c6, and now queen on h7 again. Here knight on e7, king on e2, and now comes this idea. We want to get this king on the other side, then be able to push the pawn b4. Knight on c8 was played, and king on f2, and here knight on e7. Here if you try something like b5, you see, well, then it's not good, because you opened your position here on the king side too much. After the bishop takes, then you get maybe knight on c4. This could be really deadly. If you takes here, this could be now really a target with some now potential f6 move. Then if you try g6, then we can simply take. So you see, it's also hard here for black to make some counterplay. Here black, as said, just simply searches for the static pawn structure, for the blocked out pawn structure, and then maybe try to find the best squares for the knights. Here knight on e7 was played, and now bishop on e2. We have queen on g8, and again Magnus is not simply interested in some trade of the queens. Here we have g6, and now queen on h6. You cannot take g takes f5. You're not getting a pawn, because although you have twice attacked this pawn, here you lose a very important pawn, which is the d6, and this d6 is the main protector of this c5 and d5 pawns. And if the queen infiltrates here in the position, I think it's basically game over here for black. So that's why here after queen on h6, knight on e8 was played, and now f6. Now finally Magnus creates this attack here after knight on c6. Now if the knight moves here, then we can create maybe an annoying attack with queen on g7, attacking the queen. If the queens are traded here on g7, then we would have again a pass pawn, which will be really hard for black to catch. So here b4 was played by Magnus, and here Magnus should have gone maybe here also. This again a little bit slows down the attack. Knight on d5 maybe a better move. I don't know if he had considered this move. Still with b5 with b4 Magnus is also still better, but here we have this very annoying threat maybe to play knight on e7. Then if the knight takes, then we can capture and then create a mobile pawn with some ideas, queen on f8. Okay, but Magnus goes for the b4 line, and here after knight on c7 we have now c takes, b takes c5, and now d takes c5. And here is now the position which Anand loves, because now we have really static position. We have now the 3 pawns here. Now Magnus can only search for some tactics or for some positional trades of pieces on the square d5. If the knight recaptures here, let's try knight on d5 like Magnus played in the continuation of the game. If you try, then we have again a pass pawn. So you see, although Magnus can go for space here, but here of course Anand is not going to trade off this knight on d5, and he plays simply on the blockade with the move knight on e6. So bishop on e3 was played by Carlsen, and now king on a7, bishop on g4, and here this king on a7 was also slightly inaccuracy, because as said here after bishop on g4 again we have this threat maybe to go bishop on e6 in some occasions, and then queen on g7. But okay, b6 was played, and now knight on c7, very nice move. And you see this king on a7 was not a good idea. It allowed now Carlsen to make this pin here. If you take, then of course you lose the bishop, but still you see these bishops are now more active, because we have simplified positions, and here there are also some tactical threats with bishop on e6 if the position allows it, of course. If the knight maybe moves, we have possibilities, maybe bishop on e6, again queen on g7 ideas. So you see, this king was perfectly fine on b8, it wasn't endangered on b8, and here I think Anand shouldn't have gone here in this line. So here after knight on c7 we have queen on queen on c8, and now knight on b5. You see Magnus transposed the knight on an even better square with the check, with the tempo, and here king on f8 was played. Now knight on d6 with an attack on the queen. You have to move the queen here on g6, because you lose the pawn on f7. So here queen on h1 was played, and now queen on f8. Here Magnus plays queen on d1. Maybe again would have been an interesting idea if he now would have played here knight on b5 and then followed maybe with some queen on a1 ideas. The problem is that black cannot infiltrate in the position through the h file, because we can always play maybe something like king on g3 or king on h2. You see, with the support of the bishop, we are always restricting the queen's ability to infiltrate in our camp here through the h file. So I think this would be also a very nice idea. But okay, Magnus played after queen on f8 and queen on d1, and here knight from c to d8 was played, and now knight on b5. Now finally this move. Here bishop on c6 was played. If you try something like bishop on b5, then of course a takes b5, and this could be really deadly, because now we have the square d5. If you see the queen can come here into the game, it will be really hard for Anand to defend this here with this bishop pair. Still, this knight would be really a little bit paralyzed, because the dependency on each other is too much. We have always the possibility maybe to take this knight on e6 and create sort of a pass pawn situation. As said, you see the whole game was based on creating pass pawns or not creating pass pawns. So Anand battled to not allow Carlsen to create pass pawns. Magnus Carlsen battled to create pass pawns. So here, after bishop on c6, we have king on g1. It's a very nice move. It still leaves Magnus flexibility. As said here, it's really hard for black to infiltrate with the queen with these bishops, and you see here also, if you now remove the queen, we have now the possibility to play the move queen on d6. So here knight on c7, challenging this knight even more, and here bishop on f2. Very nice move. You cannot take here. Knight takes on b5. If you takes, bishop takes, then you get very annoying stuff. Queen on b3. If you remove the bishop, queen on b6. You see, so that was really tricky here by Magnus. So here after bishop on f2 and knight on b7, bishop on g3 was played, and now bishop on b5. Now c takes on b5, and of course here Anand didn't take the pawn. He played the move queen on d6, and this is now the critical moment of the game. Here you see the problem is here in this position we want, as I said, we want to create always a pass pawn situation. Here after queen on d6, Magnus goes for king on g2, and should have gone here king on g2, but the problem is here if you go king on g2, you see if the queen takes, here the bishop takes, then the knight takes, and here bishop takes. Here we would then have a position in which we have this pass pawn situation, but Magnus goes for another line, and here after queen on d6 he plays simply queen on e2, which is now really equalized position, and here Viswanathan Anand managed to defend with knight on e6 was played. Here in the continuation, bishop takes on e6, we have f takes e6, and this is really now an equalized position. Pardon me, it was taken with the queen, pardon me. So you see there's no way now for the bishop here to come into the game with the attack. We have now the possibility to defend with this knight and the queen. The basic pawn that we have to protect is the pawn here on f7. So this is simple playable here for Viswanathan Anand, and both of the players agreed to a draw. So as said, here let's go to this critical moment. Here after queen on d6, here you should really go here, maybe king on g2, allow Anand to take the queen. Bishop takes on d1. If black takes, then bishop takes on e5, and in the continuation we would then really have a potential pass pawn situation with maybe bishop on g3, then e4, and then e5 and e6, and really challenging this pawn structure. Still some possibilities with maybe bishop on b3 in order to challenge this weakness on f7. So as said, here I think it would be better continuation, although it's not completely winning him, but here I think Magnus could have handled it. So okay, I hope you enjoyed this game. We have now very interesting situation in the tournament. We have now Peter Swidler, who has also 2 wins, and he has now equalized with Magnus Carlsen. Fabiano Caruana won the game against the talented German player Vincent Keimer, and as said, it will be a dynamic tournament. I'm really enjoying it because we have many wins. We don't have too much of these drawing situations, and I wanted to point you out, I'm really happy because I predicted all of the results of this third round correctly, and before the 4th round again I'm going to do the same with my friend David Helly. We started the thing, and we will always predict the outcomes of the next rounds before the rounds, and we will have fun, I think, while doing it. Okay, meanwhile you can watch my other chess games from from the series, from the commented chess games series, in which I show you the current chess games that are played, and you can also watch my previous videos from the Grenke chess tournament, and you can also watch my best chess games of all time if you want to see the best chess games that have been ever played in chess history. And you can also subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, guys, and chess is the best, of course.